So did you get some impressions or imagery or anything pop up while you were just
Um,
looking at that stuff?
yeah, the first time I looked through it, like I had an image of a reptilian, like a messing with his wife. So I guess we can start from there.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
place.
yeah. So basically, we're looking at the reptilians messing with his wife and sort of affecting their relationship, or how other beings are trying to stop Ron through other people using his wife for someone else. Um, and the implants and stopping his communication and different things. That's what we can focus on.
Okay, that's the first thing we'll work on, and then if we have time for more, we'll do more.
All right.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Start.
Okay. So I'm scanning Ron's wife. I'm seeing quite a few entity clusters. It's like a little cloud of like darker, denser energy around her. So some of these uh, entity clusters are around her head, chest area, stomach area, and like sort of like lower back.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these entities stay, at least the leaders are like sort of like bigger ones from the cluster. They don't like being found out, and once you're like getting closer to something, they're trying to distract you in any possible way. And it's a very smooth distraction. You might be talking about a person, and boom, all of a sudden you're talking about the other person that you didn't mean to talk about, and you're fully interested, you're fully into it, and like whatever you're engaged in life, it doesn't matter what it is, like whatever's good for you, whatever you're like going for, these entities will like sort of try to change the subjects and move your perception, and like you're going into spirituality and getting better, and all of a sudden you're like talking about like buying some stuff, and it's has a similar like a sense to it, but it's a completely different subject and it's not helping you at all. So like
Yeah.
they're like removing your attention and your perception. It's like a very smooth transaction, but like I'm noticing like it with a lot of people, and this is one of the case.
Uh-huh. Now, are these entities doing it to Ron's wife or to Ron? Through his wife or what? How?
Both. They're doing it to his wife. Like these entities affect his wife, so like she might feel something, and like she can be completely engaged and like even try to support Ron and different things. And all of a sudden, there's a smooth change where she becomes more triggered. Her interests change, and it's the opposite of what she was going for. And if she wants to help Ron, the entities will like, no, 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 this is dangerous. Don't do that. So these entities will sort of switch her thoughts, and whatever she meant to say becomes what she did not mean to say, and now it's more of a trigger relationship. So it's like the whole communication comes out the opposite than it's meant,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really like sort of like call it whatever, like toxic, or like selfish or whatever, but like seems like she can't be there fully for him because of these anti clusters.
I gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just like usual, like it's a known phenomenon to us. Like they can affect like not just the thoughts but the feeling states. So whenever the entity will create the bad thought or feeling, like like oh, like you're not doing this or that, like everything might go like right, and everything's like going like chill and stuff, and then the entity will create a thought like, oh, you forgot to take out the trash, or something like it, like something simple, meaningless, and they amplified the emotion really like a lot. So all of a sudden, a normal like saying that was not supposed to be there in the first place becomes sort of overhyped, oversensitive, and it's like extreme sort of emotion where like it just goes off and it creates more damage to the relationship than it should be there.
Yeah. It can be she might even be in a good mood, and then she'll just think of something, and it'll come out of her mouth. Not it come out well-meaning or just something to say, but in fact it's a trigger word or trigger subject on Ron, and it just throws everything off sideways.
Yeah, that, and also like she can be like in a really good place, and these entities boom, like they shifted. So she was doing good, and all of a sudden like it's like that, like it's not like bipolar disorder, but like it falls really fast. Like
Mood swing,
yeah,
mood
yeah,
shift.
yeah.
Okay.
Also, these like entities, like the whole cluster seems to drain a lot of energy, like both from his wife and from Ron himself. Like like
Mm-hmm.
uh, these entities, like these specific clusters, are targeted around people in his life, like not just his wife, but a lot of people, um, even like strangers that like pass him by. If there's any sort of communication with people, uh, it's like a cluster comes in. It's like someone upper, like in the higher levels, knows what Ron's gonna do, like, foreseeing stuff, or just like knowing his intentions, and they can send a cluster of entities around people that he's gonna meet on his way. And if there's any interaction, like two-way communication or whatever, even if it's a simple hi, a lot of these entities will drain the energy from both people. So you say hi, and all of a sudden you feel like really drained. It's like energy vampires all around you,
Mm-hmm.
and basically he can't even talk to people normally. Like, they just like take everything from him, but they being the entities.
Yeah. Now, do these entities? They seem like do they like these cluster of entities? When they take that energy, do they use it themselves? Use it up, or do they? Are they a channel? Or they send it off to somewhere else and it's being used in some other way?
Mm. I'll look into it, but like it's more like a channel. Like
Okay.
we'll see where it goes. Like, further than that, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like where are they taking on Ron's energy? Where is it really being used?
Yeah.
After we figure out how they're doing
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay.
It seems like Ron has a handler. Like it's more like a shadow-looking being, but that handler is focused on isolating Ron. So whoever he meets in life, that handler sort of gets close to people around him, not Ron himself, but people around him, and he's able to impact like beings, like how they act and stuff, and people that might seem really warm and nice and friendly and everything turn like completely cold and opposite and like sort of pushing you away, and they have this vibration about them, like, like that's more like a negative, but at the same time, um, it's like that handler is trying to create this energy shielding around Ron, that when people get close, even wanting to talk to him or like just interacting, like meaning well, they get pushed off by that fake energy, which is like sort of harsh and intimidating. And a lot of people like want to reach out, they get sort of scared away and they just back off.
Okay. Okay. Uh, are you? I'm not sure. What are you going to do next?
Just look for more. Right now I'm seeing that, like, entities are and that handler, they're connected. So I'm gonna
Uh,
see how the handler is acting up, and like, the leaders,
mm-hmm.
how they're connected, and go from there.
Yeah, and why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are they? Why would they put a shield around Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Besides, like, like I mentioned before, like wanting to isolate him.
Yeah. And the question would be like, why do they
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
isolate him?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I see it's a series of phenomena here. Get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it seems that like the handler, and other beings, seems like that when they trigger people, like draining the energy from them, and there has to be like specific emotion, like, being afraid, being depressed, being sad or angry or something. It's basically combined. They're like sucking up your deluge, but they're using your energy and the specific emotion at the time to create the entity cluster, which is like,
Mm.
a lot of people, like every day, where like, people are in those emotions quite a lot, like, like the whole humanity. So we're just like massive generator for entities. We are in certain emotion, like right now there's a lot of fear and panic because of coronavirus, for example, and all these people, they're in that intense emotion, and that energy is going somewhere, and that's where, like, they're like basically generating billions of these entities who are also all about fear, depression, sadness, panic, and stuff like that, and then they latch on to people, and it's like even like amplifying it more and more. It's like never ending cycle.
Wow. It's kind of like these little entities are like small, empty bubbles,
Yes.
uh, and they want to fill them with the fear energy, for example. And so that fear energy that is generated in us, that we feel, we create the energy of fear. They siphon it off, suck it off of us, but now they're putting that energy into these clusters. So now these clusters, uh, like a cluster of grapes, it's like each grape is an entity, but now instead of a hollow bubble sort of thing, it's full of the fear energy.
Yes.
But there's some sentience to each individual being within the cluster, but they're all being the same thing, and what they're being is a thought about fear on the thought level, but emotionally they're being afraid or being the fear itself. So you got a whole cluster being the fear, and it takes a being like us, like a person walking around the street, to energize and feed or fill the cluster with the fear energy so it can be the fear energy and then continue to keep us afraid. It kind of closed loop. It comes back at us once again.
Yeah.
And it can jump, these clusters can jump from one person to another too. Kind of like that?
Yes. And it's not just the emotion or the thought, but like even specific phrases. Like whatever might be the trigger, like hold on, watch this, hold that, like like back off or whatever. We might say that with a lot of emotion and intention, and boom, it's a phrase that now becomes a command for these entities, and that's all they're gonna repeat all day long.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
just saying.
Yeah. Okay. Continue.
Yeah, and just like to close this sort of thing, like so we have entities, we have the handler, and above that is like there's reptilians, and these are the ones creating the whole structure. Like it doesn't take for them too long to like oh, we're gonna make sure like it lasts without us, so they create a structure like a loop with a system, and we're the ones generating and creating the entities, and they're gonna stir up more stuff, and we're gonna create more of them, and like it's basically back and forth, never-ending thing. And they launched it off one time, and like now it's all chaos, and it's like it's really launching off with all these negative emotions and stuff.
Okay.
So knowing what's going on, we're gonna find out why, and then take it all apart.
Okay. That. Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing like it's really interesting. I started sensing like it's like a lot about communication, and then I am releasing the energy and I start yawning and my jaw almost like locks up, and I'm like, oh, this is first time it ever happens and stuff. And so like I'm looking more into it, and seems like Ron has the ability to like communicate, but he has a sort of strong intention and awareness about the way he speaks. So the way he talks, a lot of people not just like hears what he says, but they start listening, and that makes people like sort of wake up and become more aware. They're more here now present rather than like lost in their mind and their world. And so whenever he would talk to whoever, it's not just people that are listening, it's the entities and other beings as well. And like he has this ability to communicate through the parallel worlds. Like whatever he say can be like a radio station that reaches out a lot of different beings who are tuning in and listening in. And so it's not just people, but a lot of other beings and realms and entities and different like different beingnesses and stuff. And as he talks, he's waking everyone up. He's making them more aware and more conscious. So he would basically destroy the whole structure. The more he talks with his intentions and knowledge, the more beings are waking up, and the whole cluster starts falling apart. The more real, like places and beings are like, oh, that's what's going on. They become more aware of it all, and reptilians, they don't like it. Like this specific group of reptilians are like, hey, we need to isolate this guy because he is the one making everyone aware, and they're like trying to close him off, shut him off, and they cannot do it like, physically. They cannot mess with him too much, as much as just like isolate beings around him and make sure like affect his perception, affect his emotions and feelings, and that's the bigger game they can play.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good.
So now that we know the structure, I can go for taking it all apart and go from there.
Good deal. Okay. Start.
Yeah, it's like removing the whole structure with reptilian insanities, like getting rid of them like from Ron's life, making sure like his wife and him is not affected, and they can't mess with people around him too much. And another thing that popped up is this like a metal bird kind of like figure. Well, bird for real, but like metal leg or whatever. And it seems like that bird being is pretty big, like 15, 16 feet. It has this leg, and it's like holding from this way. It's sort of like it's holding Ron's head with his leg really tight, and like sort of energetically, it's really hard to move your head or anything physically, but it's energetically like really squeezing him tight.
Like a giant 16-foot bird with feathers and stuff, but it's got a metal leg.
Yeah, kind of like.
Yeah. Okay. And it's kind of on the astral or some etheric, energetic realm somehow, but it's got to hold the back of his neck, claw like his bird claw in the back of his head or neck.
More like head. The whole head is like from this way, like.
Just grab his whole head from behind, but.
Yeah.
When that one claw kind of.
Yeah, like sort of locks everything up.
Okay.
Yeah, so look into it more.
Okay, yeah.
It's interesting that we didn't notice it in the previous session when we worked on Ron, but it seems like this bird, like astrally, is holding Ron like really tight and making sure he cannot get out of the body. Like it's as if like this bird is always carrying Ron with him, and you just cannot get away from it. He's like stuck to it.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot get out. So like I think like it's also affected the way like not being able to get out of the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being stuck or sort of drawn as like not being able to get out now.
Yeah. It's kind of like imagine a radio with all this with a dial, and you can tune into all these different radio channels like 98.6, 98.7, point 8, point 9, point, and that's just 98. Then you get channel 104.5, point 6, point 6. All these different channels with all these point channels. It's like in consciousness, like in the astral planes and all these other realms, non-physical realms, the multiverse, we, each of us, can tune in to all these different channels. And there's thousands of them. And with each thought or vibration or emotion or interest or curiosity or any subconscious stuff that's going on under the surface, it puts our attention on one of these channels, so to speak. And in these various channels, you would expect something nice, but they've either been hijacked or they're empty channels. But when you pop into there with your attention, you can see what's there. And that's another way of saying you've tapped into some aspect or sub-astral plane in the multiverse, and now you're able to see on Ron's channel 98.6, we're seeing this giant bird thing, and channel 101.5, we're finding other entity stuff and phenomena. And I don't think it's just with Ron, I think it's with everybody.
Yeah.
And it has to do with what a being or a person is tuning into, or what they're, basically we would say, what they're focusing on, or what is subconsciously being triggered by virtue of their environment, or what is being attacked, or you could say that entities and extraterrestrials or whatever are hijacking a being's sort of radio transceiver, the sending and the receiving of stuff, and so we're picking off the stuff where it's been hijacked or compromised.
Yeah.
I think that's the way I'd sort of explain it, is I try to understand how all this stuff works.